Hello friends, it's me Doom, and since we learned how to catch trophy bass last time, now we're going to be learning how to catch trophy trout. Now, although Rocky Lake is the first place that unlocks for us to catch trout, we're going to be heading to Falcon Lake, because honestly, up until you unlock Falcon Lake, your best bet for getting money is actually still heading over to catch the bass over there at the Neherrin River. So that being said, at Falcon Lake, first things first, get a license. But before you do, make sure you do the math. The amount of money you've got versus the trip versus the cost of the license, which if I'm not mistaken is about $2,000 for a 24-hour period. Yep, there it is. $2,000 for 1 day in Oregon. But we're going to be bringing one narrow spoon, 1/4 ounce, number 1/0. And that's all we're going to take. And we are going to wipe this entire lake clean of trout. You'll think I'm joking, but I'm actually not. This is borderline cheating. I mean, I'll show you guys. Make sure you stick around to the end of this video so that you know where to cast, how to cast, and all that good stuff, and how to use this bad boy, this game, the close to game-breaking lure. Now let me make sure I've got it equipped here. Yep, there it is. One Ammonite, narrow spoon, 1/4 ounce, number 1/0. Alright, so trout are another fish that are more active during the morning. Unfortunately, our peak hours start roughly around 11 o'clock. So we're going to go ahead and switch it to noon here, but don't worry, we'll still have plenty of time to fill up the keep net. That's just how powerful this lure is, or how powerful this entire technique is. There's multiple places to do it from, but the trout lair is my favorite place to fish from because of two reasons. It literally has a dividing line. If you would rather catch brown trout, you come to this side of the rock and kind of cast off in that direction. Now, brown trout are heavier than rainbow trout, but it's more easy to catch rainbow trout, and you'd come over to this side of the rock. Now, my spot, as usual, everyone has their own spot. I'm no different. Is right here, casting out at this more pale rock. Now, things to note about this lake is that it is clear water. Thing to note about trout is unlike bass, they don't rely on movement in order to hunt. Think of it kind of like a falcon or an eagle flying up above. They use their eyesight to eyeball prey. Well, that was oddly timed bird, but yes, thank you. They use their sight to eyeball the prey before they strike. Whereas bass rely on motion and need shiny objects to keep them to keep their fascination sated. These guys do not. They are good hunters, as it were. They also, like bass, tend to stick around the bottom of the lake. One last thing before we get started is something that you need to know, and that is you need a rig that's able to handle up to 8 pounds. The heaviest fish I've seen out here is a trophy brown trout at 8.46 pounds. So make sure that you've got a rig that can at least handle that, or else you're going to be snapping lines like nobody's business. Well, maybe not like nobody's business, because, yeah. Alright, so here's the technique, and this is another thing you're going to need to know, because if you do it wrong, it will be nowhere near as effective. First thing first, cast it out. Obviously. I mean, it'd be kind of weird if you didn't. Just psychic the fish into your net. Then you're going to let it sink all the way to the bottom. And it takes a minute, because this is a deep, deep lake. There we go. Then you're going to let it sit there for about 10 seconds. I'm not going to speed this up or anything. I guarantee you, though, I'm going to get a hit on this first cast. Now, the retrieval method is something that's very similar to our last video. It's the lift and drop at a number 1 speed, like so. Boom, immediately. And I can tell you already it's a trophy. It actually started to line me out there quite a bit. Trout are fast swimmers, and they also have a good amount of stamina. That being said, the biggest issue with this technique is that they are fast enough to actually get off the line by creating slack. They're very, very good at it. Boom! First fish, trophy rainbow trout. Now, normally I don't use premium for this, but since it was my birthday here recently, I decided to treat myself. So that trophy rainbow trout was worth $504. Should be about 3.0 something, I think, normally. I can't really do the math in my head right now. So another thing to note is because trout have such good vision, you're going to want to use a low visibility line for rainbow trout. That being said, your best option is to go with a fluoro line. The fluoro line matches the reflectivity of the water while it's in the water, making it the least visible of the of your line options. However, if you're going to be going after brown trout, feel free to use the braid line if you'd like. It's thicker, it's much more visible, but brown trout are so big that they hardly have any predators besides, you know, birds and such. So they really don't care what they eat. Very little caution is used on their part. Right quick before we hit the next step, I want to give a quick shout out to a couple people that I met while I was doing some research for this episode. And that is Skoov. That's Skoov. He and I got to talking, and the other guy, D6. We all got to talking about stuff. D6 asked me a lot of questions, and I was able to help Skoov out a lot too. And it really helped me plan this episode out. So I wanted to thank you guys, if you all watch this, for really helping me out. Now, once again, guys, this is just my preferred method. I'm not saying that this is the best method, or anything along those lines. In fact, if you have a method for catching trout in this lake, which you like more, leave it down in the comments. I'll give you a shout out next episode. Now, as far as peak hours go, this very important thing to remember is even though it's still during peak hours, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or 15 o'clock, as it were. Oop, there we go. Like, I thought I had a bite. Anyway, the trout action begins to drop off significantly. Then, at that point, it would be a good idea to switch over to another fishing method. Come on, you. But from this spot, you'll be able to catch Oregon red band trout, brown trout, cutthroat trout, and rainbow trout, all without moving. This is a sweet spot, as they say. The best time for this, which is not the time that I'm doing it right now, is in the morning. If you use this thing in the morning, it's like fishing with TNT. It is the most money I've made in 1 hour since I've been playing this game. And that's pretty impressive because I've been playing this game for a minute now. Shaboom! Another trophy. Worth $420, I might add. Alright, so let's end this video with an overview. First things first, you'll need one narrow spoon, 1/4 ounce, number 1 aught. Next, come to this side of the rock for a higher chance of rainbow trout and others, but for a higher chance of brown trout, which are heavier and allow you to fill up your net more quickly, you come to this side of the rock. Kind of aim towards that, and let me aim towards that little white spot in the rocks over there. Possibly a log. I'm sure it's a log. Can't really tell from here. But there you go. Use a low visibility line for everything except for brown trout. Then you can use the higher density, higher visibility braid line. You get that little extra distance that can really help out. Cast out, let it sink to the bottom, and do a lift and drop retrieve. There it is. And in no time, boom. Wow. Oh, I had a bite. Or maybe I was just caught. Anyway, in no time, you will have a bite and a fish to call your very own. But still questions remain. Is it a good idea to participate in tournaments. What's the next fish? Because it's going to be a big one that we're going to learn how to catch. You can find out the answers to those and more on the next episode of Untitled Gaming!